toxic masculinity.
Convicted sex predators caught illegally crossing the border.
Yeah, I didn't actually have time to read this story, so let's look at this. Border Patrol captures convicted sex predators allegedly crossing the border. This is pretty disconcerting. Let's see. Texas GOP congressman concerned that other criminals crossing the border undetected. Okay, so Texas Republicans are pointing to the recent apprehensions of convicted sex criminals at the southern border as an example of the kind of criminal element they believe are taking advantage of President Biden's immigration policies. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol announced on Wednesday the apprehension of multiple convicted sex predators that were caught trying to illegally enter America through the southern border. Agents in the Rio Grande Valley sector captured 3 convicted sexual predators, Jose, blah, 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 a bunch of people who have names, and an unnamed Mexican national between Monday and Wednesday of this week. The agency announced in a press release. Martinez was apprehended in Brownsville, Texas, after allegedly entering the country illegally. Agents ran his records and found that Martinez was a convicted child molester, according to CBP. So why hasn't he just been killed? That's what I want to know. All right, Martinez was sentenced to 8 years probation. 8 years probation? After he was arrested in 2013 for indecency with a child/sexual contact by the Hopkins County Sheriff's Office in Sulphur Springs, Texas. Hopkins County Sheriff's Office, or judicial system, or judge, or whomever, why would you give him probation?
I don't understand what's probation.
Probation means that you don't actually go to prison. You're just... So you're not allowed, you have certain kinds of restrictions on your civil liberties, like I think you can't have a gun and certain things like that.
Okay.
And you have to check in with a probation officer every once in a while. I don't know how often. And they just basically have to check on you and make sure you're not doing anything wrong. So any little infraction will be a violation of your probation, and then you'll get a more severe punishment. So it's sort of like I don't know. It's sort of a system to punish people, but without keeping them in actual prison or actual jail. Probation is sort of the lightest sentence you can get for a serious crime.
Okay,
And,
interesting.
I don't know. Child abuse seems like something you should go to prison for. All right. Well, I don't want to read too much more of this because the point is essentially this, which is that, when Donald Trump first was running for president, his main one of the main issues that he had was that we had these porous borders and all these illegal immigrants were coming over, and you couldn't really tell, if everybody that was coming over was just somebody trying to find work and help support their family, or if a lot of these folks were coming in, trying to sell drugs or trying to commit crimes or trying, and he said, look, they're sending murderers, they're sending rapists, they're not sending their best. And for whatever reason, for whatever reason, we know why they did this, but the left interpreted this as saying that Trump believed that all Mexicans were rapists and murderers and stuff like that.
No.
No. It was never true.
Trump said they don't send their best.
Yeah. And actually, he pointed to some Mexicans in the crowd there, and he said, they're not sending people like you. They're sending these bad people. Now, to say that they're not sending their best, that doesn't necessarily mean that every single person crossing the border is a rapist, right? But this is what they turned it into. And so because they turned it into this, and they had this lie, essentially, that they had to keep up, that Donald Trump was this horrible racist, they keep pushing this idea that, that this is what he meant, and that, look, in contrast to what he said, every single person that crosses the border is nice. Like, if you look at Jen Psaki's recent press interview, they keep pushing her on this idea of immigration, like, the immigration situation is really bad. What are you guys doing about it? Like, don't you think that what you're doing is terrible and all this kind of stuff? And they're saying that, you wanted your efforts to be more humanitarian, but they're not more humanitarian. They're actually worse. And she keeps coming back with these ideas so she keeps responding with this rhetoric like, what, you think that we should, Valeria, over here. Don't be distracted by the helicopter. She's like a cat. Don't be distracted by the helicopter. Pay attention to me. So they had this. She laughs because it's true. What are you doing? Oh, are you not bright enough? Again, the least professional show on YouTube.
It's sunset.
It is sunset. The sun is
Oh,
going down.
see?
Oh, you look better. You look
I
better.
know, right?
Well, she keeps coming out with this rhetoric like, so what are you saying? What are you saying? We should send back children? You think we should send back children? You think we should hurt children? Or when they ask about, and somebody's like, well, they're not all children. She's like, so what? You think that we should hurt families? You think we should send back families? She likes to use the word family, and she likes to use the word children when she's talking about immigration, because people are sympathetic to families. People
What
are
about
sympathetic
using
to
rapists, drug dealers?
Yeah, it would be nice if she would be honest about it. And this is the whole point, right? The whole point is that the Biden administration wants to put this sort of sunshine and roses veneer on the whole immigration thing. Like every single person that's crossing the border illegally is somehow this like upstanding citizen that just wants to help their family, and it's just not true. And we see it time and time again, and we saw it with the people that were sending drugs, and now we're seeing it with and also terrorists. We saw it with these terrorists coming over, these people on the terrorist watch list, and now we're seeing it with these child abusers. It's just disturbing. It's disturbing. Look, it's not to say that every single person that crosses the border is bad, but with more people crossing the border, it gives cover to bad people who also want to cross the border. If you have no good people crossing the border, no decent people who are just trying to feed their family and do something good for themselves and their lives, if you don't have those people crossing over, it's much harder for the bad guys to cross over, the really bad guys. I mean, everybody who crosses the border is breaking the law, but the real serious criminals, they don't have they have a much fewer options to cross the border. It's much more difficult for them. They don't have the cover of these thousands and thousands of other people also crossing the border. All right.
Okay, we have a super chat with kitty emoji.
I could tell. You get this look on your face when you have a super chat, like you're uncomfortable, like, oh, we have to read something here.
I'm just trying to find this a little stop in your speech where
I know,
I can say, Chris, we have super chat.
Yeah,
because I don't wanna interrupt you, because after live stream is over, he's gonna beat me because I interrupted him.
It's awful about that though. Actually, whenever you get that look on your face, like, oh, we have a super chat or something, you kind of like, and I get distracted and I kind of lose my train of thought. I'm trying to like quickly express myself, but I get distracted. Anyway, sorry. Let's read the super chat.
I said it's a cat emoji super chat.
Oh, okay.
But it's a super chat, so I have to mention that.
Okay.
And Frank James, the left wanted Trump to have said racist things.
Oh, they want, not only do they want Trump to say racist things, they want the right to do racist things. They want this narrative to be true, because if the narrative is true, then they're all heroes.
Like,
right?
Look at this Trump. He's doing such a racist thing. He is giving all of these black jobs. Jobs.
What's a black job? That sounds sexual in some kind of vulgar
Sorry.
way. That's totally inappropriate, Valeria.
All of those jobs for African American in America, so there's lower unemployment rate amongst black people. Yeah. Look how racist he is. He's not giving more jobs to white people. Yes. I can say that was racist.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll tell you what. So just the other day we reported, I think it was yesterday. What are you laughing for?
Black jobs.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, I was totally distracted by that. I'm going to be honest. I didn't hear anything else you said after that. I was just thinking about black jobs and how funny that was. So, but yesterday we were talking. What was the story we were talking about yesterday? Where it was the kid who ended up shooting a bunch of people. Right? Tragic story.
Kid. You called him kid?
He's like 20, 21, something like that. He's a kid to me.
Well,
I'm old, girl. Anyway, so this guy he ended up shooting all these Asian chicks, and I think a couple of white girls or something. But the left wants this to be a racist attack because they want to be able to fit it into this narrative that white people are racist. Mm-hmm. It's actually it's really twisted. It's really twisted. They refuse to perceive America as it is, which is, at least with white people, a non-racist country, an anti-racist country even. Like, if you talk to that guy about what he thinks of Asians, he'll probably tell you, I have no problem with Asians. He had a sex addiction and he snapped. right? He had this issue where he felt like these brothels were contributing to this sex addiction problem that he had. And it's really funny. I actually read a news story that came up on my feed the other day. I didn't read the story. I read the headline, but it said something about how we have some kind of like racial sexual fetishes that's kind of like the reason for this problem of this guy shooting up these brothels is because we're sexualizing Asians or something like that. I'm just like, the hell are you talking about, lady? Like, or guy, or whoever wrote this stupid article. Like, the left convolutes everything into these weird theories about everything that aren't actually true, that aren't right, in order to confuse people, to make them think that there's some kind of systemic thing where the government is putting in place Asian brothels to sexualize Asian women or something like that. I don't, like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, for some reason, these brothels popped up where Asian women were offering these kinds of services, right? Now, is it because white people are doing this, some kind of a racist thing? I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. My guess is that it's an Asian business with Asian employees, and it's an illegal business, and it's a bit of a sick business, twisted business, but it caters to a particular clientele, including guys like this. And this guy maybe had a mental problem, maybe not, but whatever happened, he snapped and he murdered some people, and it's terrible and it's tragic. But it has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with racism. And the same thing with Trump trying to run for president. He recognizes something as a problem and he mentions it, but they desperately want to make it into a racial issue. They want to point to it and say, well, this shows that the right is racist. They're constantly trying to find anything they can that can somehow support this fiction that they've created that especially conservatives, but white people generally, are racist. And it's not about reading what's happening in the world and coming to a conclusion about it. It's about having a hypothesis about the world and then trying to find evidence to support it so desperately that they're actually inventing evidence. They're actually twisting things to create evidence. And it's a twisted way of looking at the world. It's a fantasy. And the reason that they have this fantasy, I think, is so that they can feel as if they are heroes in some way. Like, you can't be a hero unless there's a villain, right? Like, unless you're talking about like a cancer doctor. Cancer doctors are heroes, and the only villain is nature, biology, bad luck, and that's a tough thing. Like, it's a tough thing when there's no villain. You're not as clearly defined as a hero, and so they want there to be this villain, this villain of the white supremacist, the evil white Republican racist. All right, so do we have one more story?
Yes, we have.
Okay, let's go ahead and read this one more story.
75% of Americans of all ethnicities support voter ID.
Right. Okay, I'm excited about this one because I didn't actually know about this. I love this. So apparently, it's not just white people or it's not just Republicans who support voter ID. It's like literally everyone.
Who voted for Trump?
Toxic Masculinity. Weekdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.